Solo leveling, monarch of knowledge. Some say villains or heroes are made, others say that they are born. But in reality, everything is different for every individual. The circumstances of their upbringing can change everything. Not always, though. Inside a sleek, modern office building, tension filled the air. Harsh voices bounced off the polished walls of the conference room as a group of employees argued over a failed task for a major client. Accusations flew back and forth, but it wasn't long before all fingers pointed at a silent worker seated at his desk nearby. Adam sat there, his posture calm, his fingers tapping methodically on his keyboard. He didn't bother to defend himself as his name came up repeatedly. His dark eyes flicked toward the group, betraying a flicker of disappointment, before he returned his focus to his work. "Why aren't you saying anything?" Ollie, his closest friend in the office, whispered urgently as he crouched beside Adam's desk. Adam sighed, gathering his belongings with deliberate slowness. "Why should I?" he replied, his voice steady but resigned. "This place is toxic. Staying here brings no benefits, and honestly, I'm too lazy to argue with people who've already made up their minds." Ollie stared at him in disbelief. "Adam, they're firing you. You're just going to let them win?" Adam slung his bag over his shoulder and gave a small shrug. "Why should I waste my energy fighting a battle I can't win? The world only cares about the powerful, the rich, the famous. People like me? Immigrants with no connections, no power, we don't stand a chance." His words hung in the air like a heavy weight. "But they're wrong," Ollie pressed, his voice tinged with desperation. "You didn't do anything." Adam met his friend's gaze briefly, a faint smile playing on his lips, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Doesn't matter. The moment they decided to blame me, it was over." Without another word, he turned and walked away. He could feel sympathetic gazes from some of the other workers, but he ignored them. Sympathy wouldn't pay his bills. Adam was a young black man of Senegalese ethnicity, born in Dakar. His family had moved to Italy when he was just 3 years old, searching for a better life. But tragedy struck when an accident took his parents from him, leaving him an orphan in a country still grappling with accepting those who looked different. Though Adam faced his share of racism, he also encountered moments of genuine kindness. His life had been a mixture of hardships and fleeting joys, but he had always believed that knowledge was the key to everything. Unfortunately, he wasn't gifted with a sharp memory or high intelligence. He was just average. Back at his small apartment, Adam sat in the dimly lit living room, sipping a glass of water. He didn't drink alcohol, it wasn't his thing. The silence was deafening, amplifying the sinking feeling in his chest. When he retreated to his bedroom, the weight of the day finally broke him. Tears slid down his face as he buried his head in his hands. He'd lied to Ollie. He cared deeply about his job. Losing it meant losing his only source of income, the only thing keeping him afloat. "What can I even do?" he muttered bitterly to himself. The people who framed him owned the company. They had all the power, and he had none. After what felt like hours, he finally lay down on his bed, scrolling absently through his phone for a good novel to distract himself. But exhaustion soon claimed him, and the screen slipped from his fingers as his eyes closed. I woke to a blinding white expanse stretching endlessly in every direction. My head felt heavy, my thoughts muddled, and my body oddly light. This wasn't my room. There was no bed, no walls, nothing to ground me. Before I could process the situation, I noticed them, an endless line of translucent people moving in synchronized, measured steps. They were silent, their expressions vacant, their forms shimmering faintly as they trudged forward. Something about them drew me in, and before I realized it, I was moving too, following the person directly in front of me. As I walked, I looked around. The void wasn't empty after all. Golden silhouettes zipped through the air, paperwork in hand, their glowing forms busy and purposeful. In the distance, there were rows of desks, each manned by a golden figure. Long lines of translucent people stretched toward each station, inching forward at the same steady pace. Time blurred. I had no sense of how long I'd been walking, but eventually, I found myself in front of one of the desks. Seated there was a golden being, smaller than I expected, almost childlike, though its features were indistinct, shimmering like liquid gold. It was muttering to itself, signing papers with a quill that seemed to glow as it moved. "This is absurd," the figure grumbled, slamming its hands on the desk. "Placebo pills. I only took 2. And now my father sends me to deal with this boring nonsense." I stood there, silent. Not because I didn't want to speak, but because I physically couldn't. The golden being finally looked up, its gaze piercing and annoyed. "Name?" The word struck something deep within me, and before I could think, I heard my voice answer automatically. "Adam Sr." The being nodded, and with a wave of its hand, a piece of paper materialized in front of it. Symbols and lines appeared on the sheet, and though I couldn't read them, I knew instinctively what it was: the story of my life. The golden figure scanned the paper quickly, its expression bored. Then its eyes snapped back to me. "You're aware of your circumstances?" I nodded. Somehow, I understood that this was a question I was meant to answer, even though I had no idea what circumstances it was referring to. Karma's normal," the figure muttered, leaning back in its chair. "Nothing exceptional. You can either go to heaven or reincarnate back into your original world without memories. Your choice." I didn't hesitate. Heaven. If this was real, and it certainly felt real, I wasn't about to gamble with another life of suffering. The golden being shrugged. "Figures. All right, one moment." It pulled out a small box from beneath the desk, opening it to reveal dozens of glowing orbs in various colors. The being rifled through them, its movements becoming increasingly erratic. "Damn, which one was which?" it muttered under its breath, its golden form dimming slightly as though embarrassed. I felt a bead of sweat roll down my neck as the being side-eyed me, its expression unreadable. Then it straightened, coughed theatrically, and said, "Today's a special occasion. You'll pick the orb yourself." I stared at it, my suspicion growing. This is pure bullshit, I thought, but I could see no way out of this situation. Resigned, I stepped closer to the box. The orbs pulsed softly, their glow hypnotic. My hand moved on its own, drawn to a light blue orb that seemed to hum with an inviting warmth. But I also saw a gray orb calling me, so I just picked both as a revenge. For the first time in my existence, I decided to fight back. The moment I touched them, the orbs merged into my chest, sending a jolt of energy coursing through me. "No," the golden being's voice rang out, sharp and panicked. "Not again." A portal erupted into existence behind me, its swirling edges crackling with energy. I felt an irresistible force pulling me backward. "Wait, what's happening?" I tried to yell, but my voice was drowned out by the roar of the portal. "Fuck," the being shouted, throwing its paperwork in frustration. "Father's going to send me to a lower world for this." Those were the last words I heard before the portal consumed me. I was thrown from the portal with violent force, crashing into something solid that rang out like a thunderclap on impact. Pain shot through my entire being, and I coughed uncontrollably, the taste of exhaustion filling my senses. I struggled to get my bearings, my body aching, when a gruff, deep voice rumbled from behind me. "Drink, or your soul vessel will break." I blinked, craning my neck to look upward. Standing above me was a short, muscular figure. His body seemed forged from iron itself, with dense muscles that rippled beneath his open-sleeved tunic. His chest and abdomen were visible, carved with raw strength. A wild, unkempt beard framed his face, his hair equally disheveled, and his eyes burned with a sharp, penetrating glow. He stepped forward, holding a flask in one massive, calloused hand. "Here," he said. "Hurry." I didn't have the strength to argue. My hands trembled as I took the flask, tilting it toward my lips. The liquid inside was thick and warm, tasting faintly of metal and herbs. As I drank, I felt a soothing energy wash over me, the pain easing, the cracks I hadn't even noticed in my translucent form knitting back together. What's happening?" I croaked, my voice weak. "Where am I? What's wrong with my body?" The man turned away from me, his heavy footsteps echoing as he approached a glowing forge at the far side of the room. He set down a pitch-black hammer on a rack and turned to face me again. "I suppose you absorbed more than one orb, right?" His tone was accusatory, but there was a flicker of pity in his gaze. I nodded, and his expression hardened as he shook his head. "Foolish. Mortal souls can't handle more than one fate orb. Your soul vessel could have shattered completely." "Soul vessel?" I asked, the unfamiliar term tripping over my tongue. He pointed at me. "That translucent body of yours, that's your soul vessel. It's the physical manifestation of your soul. Fragile, unstable, and now barely holding together thanks to your stupidity." I swallowed hard, the weight of his words sinking in. I didn't know. I just. "Let me guess," he interrupted. "The conceptuals assigned your case to some lazy, brainless entity. Typical. This mess is exactly what happens when they outsource the management of souls." He sighed heavily, clapping his hands. "No time to waste. You've been sent here for a reason, so let's get this over with. What were the colors of the orbs you absorbed?" "Light blue and gray," I answered honestly. The man's brows furrowed, and he nodded slowly. "The light blue is the random reincarnation orb. The gray one, that's the item selection orb." My mind raced at the implications. So, I get to choose an item? He snorted. Yes, but don't get your hopes up. Your karma's too average for anything overpowered. I frowned. What about a system? No. An Omnitrix? No. The 7 Dragon Balls? Absolutely not. I racked my brain, desperate for something useful. What about the nanomachines? Like from Nanomachine? The man paused, his sharp gaze locking on mine. Yes. I blinked in disbelief. Wait, really? He nodded. Yes. But don't start grinning like an idiot just yet. You won't be getting the exact version. I'll forge something similar, better in some ways, but without their inherent flaws. I nodded quickly, still stunned. Can I customize my next life, then? No, he said bluntly, turning to the forge. Now, stay quiet while I work. He clapped his hands again, and the forge roared to life, flames leaping higher as intricate runes carved themselves into the stone around it. From the wall, he retrieved a set of tools that looked both archaic and futuristic, hammers, tongs, and chisels that shimmered with energy. The version I'm making will consist of 9 trillion nanomachines, he explained, his voice steady as he worked. Each will be deployed throughout your body and soul, linked directly to your brain. They'll be undetectable, thanks to the materials I'll use. 9 trillion? I repeated, stunned. How many did the original have? 6,482,040,000, he answered without missing a beat. The contrast was staggering. I watched in awe as he began to craft the machines, his movements impossibly precise. He melted down rare metals and infused them with glowing crystals that floated into the forge on their own, guided by unseen forces. Sparks danced through the air as the tools struck the molten material, each impact resonating like a bell. I'm combining mystical elements with advanced technology, he explained, his voice calm but focused. This alloy is self-repairing and adaptive, designed to grow with you. The nanomachines will integrate seamlessly into your being. He waved his hand, and a sphere of light appeared beside him, displaying a holographic blueprint of the machines. Each component was detailed down to the atomic level, the design impossibly intricate. With this, he continued, you'll have enhanced regeneration, physical augmentation, and a network of nanobots capable of analyzing and adapting to most situations. But don't expect miracles. This isn't some deus ex machina. I nodded, unable to tear my eyes away from the process. The forge's flames turned a brilliant blue as he infused the metal with energy, chanting in a language I didn't recognize. The runes on the forge glowed brighter, pulsing in rhythm with his words. Finally, he held up the completed orb, a shimmering sphere of silver and blue. Here, he said, tossing it toward me. I caught it instinctively, feeling its weightless energy sink into my chest. My soul vessel shimmered briefly before stabilizing. The being stood back, wiping his hands on his tunic as the forge's flames died down. It's done, he said, his gruff voice softening slightly. Now, it's time for you to reincarnate. I felt an odd sensation pulling at me, like the threads of my very existence were being unraveled. My translucent body began to shimmer, bits of it breaking away and fading into the air. Panic bubbled in my chest. Wait, I started, my voice trembling. Before I go, what's your name? The being paused, a faint, knowing smile spreading across his rugged face. His eyes sparkled with an emotion I couldn't quite place as he leaned slightly closer. I'm the Cent Pound R, he said, his deep voice carrying an enigmatic weight. I tried to process the words, but as my form dissipated further, his voice became faint, muffled, and incomprehensible. Darkness claimed me once again, the last thing I saw being the faint, mysterious smile of the being who had sent me on this strange, new path. May 15, 2026, 6:45 a.m. I woke to the sound of silence. My eyes fluttered open to a simple bedroom, white sheets, a wooden desk, and the smell of fresh linen. I sat up quickly, my heart pounding. The last things I remembered were the being, the forge, and the nanomachines. I walked to the window and pulled back the curtains. I was in a bustling city, but not the Italy I remembered. A massive digital billboard in the plaza read, Cacciatori combattono contro nuova bestia magica a Roma. Hunters battle new magic beast in Rome. No way. I whispered. Hunters? Magic beasts? The realization hit me like a truck, solo leveling. I'd read it years ago. I knew the general plot, even if the details were fuzzy. I had 2 choices, live in fear of a dungeon break or become strong. The choice was obvious. I sat at the desk and searched on my phone, who are the strongest hunters? The results confirmed it: Thomas Andre, Liu Jigang, and Christopher Reed. Then I searched for Kamish. He had been slain 5 years ago. That meant I was currently 3 years before Sung Jin Woo's awakening. I had time. Come on, I muttered, focusing. I know you're in there. Suddenly, a jolt surged through my body. A faint blue glow traced my veins, and a calm, feminine voice echoed in my head. Greeting, host. I am the artificial intelligence interface of your nanomachine system. I exist to assist and serve you. You can talk, I said, a cautious smile spreading on my face. Let's call you Awa. Designation accepted. I am now Awa. Awa explained that she possessed the fundamental functions of the nanosystem and the memories of this body's past. I requested a memory download. The world blurred as I saw Adam's life: a lonely childhood in an orphanage, a quiet school life, and a monotonous job where he was eventually framed and fired. No friends, no family, no one to explain anything to, I said. This is perfect. I can do whatever I want. I asked Awa about her functions. She listed them: self-healing, scanning and analysis, data integration, emergency defense, and energy adaptation. It was a masterpiece of technology and magic. A troubling thought occurred to me. Awa, did I kill the previous Adam? Clarification: the host did not kill the previous Adam. You are the same individual. The nanomachines have only integrated his memories into your conscious understanding. Relief washed over me. I tested the scanning function on a math book. Awa processed the entire thing in seconds. Then, I asked if she could detect mana. With the current mana density obtained from the surroundings, I can detect mana signatures within a 1 kilometer radius. Are there any gates nearby? Affirmative. Directly below the host's current position. I froze. Why didn't you tell me? You did not ask, host. I told her to be proactive from now on. She informed me that the mana was becoming erratic. A dungeon break was coming in approximately 1 day. That meant the portal had been open for 6 days already. I didn't waste time. I packed a bag with food, a first aid kit, and several kitchen knives as makeshift weapons. All right, Awa. Let's find this portal. An AR arrow appeared in my vision, leading me out of my apartment and down into the basement. The air grew cold and damp. In a dark corner of the storage area, I saw it, a faint, eerie blue glow pulsing against the concrete walls. I stood frozen for a moment, staring at the portal. My heart pounded in my chest, but I clenched my fists and took a steadying breath. There it is. That is an excellent progression for Adam's journey. You've successfully established a grounded approach to his growth, balancing the cheat nature of the nanomachines with the very real limitations of his unawakened body and the world's lore. Here is the combined narrative of chapters 5, 6, and 7, formatted for a smooth reading experience. Solo Leveling, Monarch of Knowledge. Part 2, Integration. Adam stood in front of the portal, the faint blue glow reflecting in his eyes. He took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest. Let's do it, he whispered to himself, steeling his resolve. May 15, 2026, 12:21 p.m. A sleek, black car bearing the Hunter Association insignia pulled up in front of the apartment complex. Several men in dark suits stepped out, carrying handheld mana detection devices. The leader, a tall, stern man, adjusted his tie. Mr. Sen, right? The leader asked. Adam nodded, his voice steady. Yes, it's me. I found it while I was looking for some tools in the basement. The group followed him into the dim, damp basement. A technician set up a scanning device near the pulsing rift. After a few tense moments, he turned to the leader. It's a D-rank dungeon, sir. The leader looked back at Adam. You made the right call reporting this. If you'd gone in there, you wouldn't have come back out. You're just a regular civilian, after all. Adam forced a nervous chuckle. I'm not some overpowered protagonist with plot armor, he thought. I've got to play this smart. Adam was escorted to the Hunter Association building in Alessandria for his testimony. Inside the Portal Discovery Testimony's office, he met Luca, a friendly D-rank hunter, and Elisa, a muscular C-rank hunter. Awa, scan them, Adam commanded internally. Scanning. Both individuals are hunters. The male displays a mana density many times higher than the host. The female is 13 times stronger. After signing the liability disclaimers, Luca handed him an envelope containing 3,000 euros. Thank you for reporting the portal promptly. May 15, 2026, 2:07 p.m. Adam walked the streets of Alessandria, the weight of the cash grounding him. He sat at a bus stop and pulled out his phone. He needed knowledge. He typed, complete explanation of how computers and their components work. Awa, immediately transfer the knowledge I see, correct it, and inject it into my mind as I scroll. Acknowledged, host. Initializing knowledge integration. A cooling sensation spread through his skull. As he scrolled through motherboards, x86 versus ARM architectures, and thermal conductivity, the data settled as if he'd studied it since childhood. This is insane, he marveled as he boarded the bus. By the time he sat down, he didn't just know computers, he understood them at a fundamental level. May 15, 2026, 2:27 p.m. As the bus rumbled, Adam noticed massive inconsistencies in the online guides. Awa, why is there so much wrong information? Human knowledge is built through trial and error, host. Humans tend to latch onto the first working answer instead of the most efficient one. I extract only the fundamentals and calculate the most optimal solutions. Awa, why am I not feeling any pain from this data dump? The brain has no pain receptors, host. You are experiencing mental fatigue, but the brain matter itself cannot feel pain. Then why can't you just connect directly to the internet for me? Negative, host. Every function consumes mana. Your current body is unawakened. If my energy consumption surpasses your threshold, you will enter eternal slumber. Adam searched for eternal slumber and found it was a fatal mana intolerance disease. It was a stark reminder, he was still fragile. If I fall into it, can't you cure me? Negative. My processing is influenced by your current knowledge. To find a cure, you must acquire first-hand medical data, scan patients, and study mana phenomena in gates. May 15, 2026, 2:50 p.m. Adam entered an electronics store. He approached a worker with an air of quiet expertise. I need help putting together a high-performance custom PC. Mostly workstation, high efficiency. Ryzen or Intel, the worker asked. Consumer grade with optimized OS to avoid server costs. DDR5, PCIe 5.0, at least 4 M.2 slots, and a modular 1000 WPSU, Adam rattled off. The worker whistled. You really know your stuff. Adam purchased top-tier components and tools for assembly, scheduling delivery for May 17. With his workstation secured, he headed to a sushi restaurant for a well-earned meal. May 15, 2026, 3:38 p.m. Over plates of salmon and tuna, Adam researched the hunter ranking system. S to E ranks, fixed at awakening, determined by mana density. Awa, is the reason ranks don't change because humans don't understand mana? Yes. Furthermore, I can awaken you immediately once you obtain an essence stone. I will process the energy to forcibly awaken your body. Adam paused his chopsticks. That easily? Yes. However, I recommend you reach peak physical condition first to optimize your base attributes. There is also a better alternative, runestones. Specifically, those from dragons. Adam's mind jumped to Kamish, the dragon whose rune stone was held by the United States. He wasn't ready for that, not yet. He reached for another piece of sushi, his expression thoughtful. First, he would build his PC and make money. Then, he would awaken on his own terms. Simple. Efficient. Completely under his control. Adam placed his chopsticks down, letting out a quiet breath as he finished his meal. The warmth of the green tea lingered in his chest. As he stood to leave, he bumped into a girl, sending a stack of sushi plates crashing to the floor. I am so sorry, she stammered, panicking over the porcelain shards. Adam remained calm, helping her up while the manager rushed over. Adam noticed a small cut on her leg and pointed it out. Despite the manager's protests, Adam offered to cover the damages, though the man kindly refused. Awa, Adam thought as he watched the manager, any data? The manager has noteworthy potential. If awakened, he could become a B-rank hunter. His affinity lies in space manipulation. Adam raised an eyebrow. A space-related affinity was nearly unheard of, and extremely valuable. He noted the man's face, knowing that in 2 years, when the ambient mana increased, this man would become a major asset. May 15, 2026, 4:19 p.m. On the bus ride back, Adam consolidated his goals. Money, for essence stones and equipment. Space, a private lab and training ground. A vehicle, for independent mobility. Awa, knowledge integration, programming. Acknowledged, host. A cool sensation settled in his mind. Algorithms, C++, Python, assembly, and neural networks. The data didn't just sit in his memory, it became an instinct. He noticed the flaws in modern languages, the inefficiency, the security holes. What if I created my own? He wondered. But first, he needed a foundation. May 15, 2026, 5:04 p.m. Adam returned to his apartment to find it a restricted zone. Hunter Association, HA, personnel and the Runner Guild were preparing to clear the D-rank gate. He met Giovanni, a stern C-rank officer, and Marie, a sharp-tongued C-rank from the Enforcement Division. After getting permission to grab his essentials, Marie offered him a room at the Alessandria HA branch. "I'll take him there," Marie smirked, leading him to a massive, black off-road SUV. Adam looked at the giant vehicle, then at the relatively short Marie. He didn't say a word, but he gave her a long, slow side eye. "Don't say anything," she snapped, climbing into a raised driver's seat. "I didn't say anything," Adam replied, fastening his seatbelt. "You thought it. It's your imagination." Marie grumbled about her average height and peeled out of the lot. May 15, 2026, 5:37 p.m. At the HA branch, Adam was given a guest badge and a simple room. Once alone, he stripped off his shirt and looked in the mirror. He was lean, but years of desk work had left him in poor shape. AWA, assessment. Muscle density, below average. Core strength, insufficient. Even the weakest E-rank would overwhelm you with sheer physical superiority. I need to fix this. AWA, why don't you just enhance me to peak condition now? Strength is not just muscle, it is discipline. If I forcibly enhanced you, you would have zero foundation. You would only have hollow power. Adam smiled. Fair enough. Change the schedule. Prepare a hellish training regimen. We'll abuse your healing function to recover instantly. Acknowledged. Constructing 30-day intensive regimen. Adam spent the next hour absorbing medical data on muscle fibers, fast twitch activation, and tendon resilience. Shutterstock. Explore. Finally, he wandered the facility until he found the training hall. The sounds of heavy weights and the crack of fists meeting targets echoed through the steel doors. He stepped inside, watching hunters lift weights no normal human could touch and spar with superhuman speed. Every movement was recorded by AWA. He wasn't just a spectator, he was a predator gathering data, preparing to build a body that could house the power he intended to take.